and like you and Fordy and like Sean Lamont, those boys who have all hit 100 caps, it makes you realise when you hit 50 how amazing that is, because there's obviously a bit of luck involved with injuries, but apart from that, to stay that on form for that length of time,
it was easier back in the day.
Probably at this point in time, it's probably Dwayne Dewey. You know why it's called Dwayne?
No. Here we are, an official Scottish Rugby podcast. We started a series looking sit-down interviews with one-on-ones really with the great and good of Scottish Rugby. Delighted to see Hamish Watson's join us. Well, we know a lot about you, Hamish, but I think it's great, this new initiative, where we just get to find a bit more about you, not all about rugby, just basically like two old guys sitting having a crack, or one older guy and one younger guy sitting having a crack. So 49 caps on the hopefully on the obviously the eve of your 50th cap. I'm sure that'll come to be a massive achievement to touch on that. 43 starts, 6 tries in there as well. But we're going to take you right back to the start. How did you get into rugby? At the very start, what was the trigger? When was the trigger? How did you get into the game?
So my dad always used to play rugby for the vets team, not at like a high level or anything. But
position?
I think he was on the wing, but
nice.
He did it more for the social side of things, I think. And so we always used to go down to the club and watch him play, and sort of probably not hygienic, but we used to run on like the sponge and stuff. Brilliant. Back in the day for the vets. And then my older brother started playing for just a local club team when he was probably about 7, and I'm 2 years younger than him, so it would have started at about 5 years old, and back then it would have been like touch rugby, and then sort of just grew from there, started playing more, and then you just follow what your mates are doing really, and I just followed what all my friends did.
What was the club? Where was it?
Wilmslow Wolves, so it's a local.
Is it still there? Still going?
Yeah, still going.
Is your dad still playing?
Definitely not. He's 70 now, so he struggled with it. But that's where it all started, Wilmslow Wolves, and that's I've got a lot of fond memories at that club. I used to like go back as well and play for them when I was like 15, 16, but they're really determined after my rugby career to try and get me a first team cap, because I never actually played for the first team. Right. So that'd be quite funny.
You'll do that. You'll definitely do that. It'll be interesting to see what it's like when you go back as to the memories you have as a kind of 5 or 6 or 7-year-old. But you would have played other sports as well. I assume you were interested in other sports. I know you're a big football fan. We'll touch on that. But did you play all sports growing up?
Yeah, I think I played as much as I could. I did actually a lot of cross country when I was younger.
Oh, yeah. That's brutal.
Yeah, mate, I absolutely.
Was that through choice?
I was quite good at it, so I can't remember. My dad sort of made me do it and said it would be good for me and all that sort of stuff.
And because you were good at it, did it add more pressure because you had to be good at everything? You did it?
You know what? It was one of those things I did. So I did a lot of cross country and a lot of athletics in the summer, and that's when I realised I was rubbish at cricket. So I went to that, and it was one of those things. Actually, I used to get so nervous because it's one of those that you don't have a team around you.
It's you.
Yeah. So what I loved about rugby is you had your mates there, and you could try and help lead people, or you didn't, or like you just could help rely on your friends, and when you had a bad game, they'd pick you up, and vice versa. But when I actually did a bit of county stuff at cross country, and when you had like a rubbish race or something, there was no one, and it's quite a lonely. So a lot of respect to all the athletes out there, because it's really tough.
It's a mindset, that, isn't it? Like, it's you. I often think similar thing, and there is a team around boxers, but boxers must be in terms of a mindset of you being alone in that ring. I was thinking in a wee bit similar to playing rugby, when you would train all week, say an international BT Murphy, you would train all week with perhaps 25, 30 players in the squad, and then the squad would be cut towards the end of the week, and then it would be cut again, and then the team meetings would just be the 23, and then there was that moment in the changing room where you would go from 23 to basically 15 plus the doc left, coaches were away, everyone was away, and it was like that moment. But to do it as an individual sportsman, it must be going into a boxing ring without any.
No, exactly.
It's you take on, isn't it?
I can't imagine. I remember obviously Roddy.
Roddy Grant.
He did one of those like friendly boxing matches. I remember him saying he was more nervous than he'd ever been in his whole rugby career, and it was obviously for charity and stuff like that.
You'll not get me doing that. Would you do that? That hesitation's too long. There's a chance.
I don't think so. Not after rugby. We would have been through too much by then.
Yeah. So 49 caps for Scotland. Obviously, you came up to Scotland 2011. Initially, well, you played for the age grade sides before that, under 19s, under 20s. Came up to Scotland 2011. I remember you coming in. We'll talk about that as well. But the link to Scotland. When was the kind of dream, or when was the realisation that you could represent Scotland, and certainly in the age group, under 19s, first age grade?
Yeah, so I know it was before. It was like exile stuff. I started doing Scottish exile stuff probably when I was about 15.
And you were in the Leicester Academy at that point. Was that before?
No, that was before Leicester, before everything. So I was always like decent at rugby, but I wanted to, like, Rob Riley, I think, picked me up at a really young age, and my dad was always a bit of a weird one as growing up when we were younger.
Your dad's getting a bit of heat in this.
No, not in like a weird in a good way, but I think he's always loved like the underdog story. And when we were growing up, I remember always. So he was always supported Scotland, and he was a Scotland fan. So he sort of like made us support Scotland from a very young age. And I'm never. I know it sounds like people are like, yeah, sure, whatever, but I've never like owned an England shirt. My stepbrothers can vouch by that and everything. It's just a weird one, and I know we all get a lot of stick with our English accents and stuff, but it's something I don't really care about, because I know that I was there at Murrayfield, and when we won those absolute awesome games, 15-9, and you kicked all the points. But like, I was there at those games.
15-9's a big win when I played.
I was there for those games, and it was it was great coming up to Murrayfield. My dad used to take me out of school and drive us up from Oakham in Leicester and stuff like that, and it was awesome.
Yeah, so. I can't even doubt that, and the commitment.
But that's where the connection. Yeah, that's where the connection came from, because it was actually my grandparents, and then and then my dad
got into the exile.
Yeah, and then got in the exile system, and
so that's Rob Riley, who's still involved and does a good job with the exiles. And was that what age was that? About 15? Did you say?
Yeah, 15, 16. And then we played like a few games, like in-house games, and played against Belgium. Yeah. I went to try and get into Scotland under 18s and didn't get in, which is like it's quite funny, because obviously
I was the same.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. That's what I always say to young guys when they say like, "Oh, give me one bit of advice." Just never give up on it. Like it's quite easy to get a bit disheartened, like because especially in rugby, it's one of those things that you might not make it until you hear stories of people making it at 24, 25, and so if you've not made an age grade squad at under 16s, under 18s, I'll just always stick in and believe in yourselves. And I get asked that question a lot, and obviously you've been there, I've been there, and I think.
It happens all through the career as well,
everyone's had
isn't it?
some sort of setback at some point. So.
Yeah, it happens all through the career, but that first rejection, if you can call it that, is the hardest one. But that's the one I think everybody has to get over. When you get over that, you realise actually there is a life after. You can get back in or force your way in all the way through. So, was there anybody else around that time in the Exiles programme or building up to that under 19s that you still play with now? You remember?
No one I still play with. There was a lot of. There's a few guys at 20s who I've still played with like Robin Hislop, Sean Kennedy, who's obviously at Glasgow. Got a lot of my 20s group. Donkey Weir played 20s World Cup, but he was actually already playing for Glasgow at the time. He played for Glasgow very young, and he ended up like not doing a Six Nations, but just doing a World Cup. So there's not too many from my year, and especially at Exile stuff. But for me, there's someone who I've always has helped me throughout my whole career, and he's my Oakham school coach, and I still talk to him quite regularly, which I quite like. I still talk to him once every 3 months, once every 4 months, and I go back in the summer and go back to my old school and see him. And he's someone who helped me for like outside a Scottish program, but he like helped me get to where I needed to be. And when I wasn't able to get a contract out of school, he sort of got me into Leicester Tigers Academy, which was amazing. I might
be making this up, but did you take a Lions shirt back to him? Was it last year?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So like we did a really cool thing on the Lions tour. We like dedicated our jerseys to like someone, and obviously your family have helped you get where you are, but that's a bit of an obvious one. So I thought like it would be a really nice touch to give it to Ian Smith or Dossa Smith, and it was an amazing day going back and seeing him and being able to do that, because I know it meant a lot to him, and it meant so much to me as well.
It'll carry a lot of weight for the next generation. Absolutely. I know we're jumping back and forward a little bit, but it was 2011 that was my final year actually. Well, 2012 I retired, but 2011 my final year, really full year. And I remember you coming to the Edinburgh system. You was it the sevens you signed with first?
But
you trained with us at Edinburgh.
So back then we did like elite development program. Yeah. So I was actually it was a split contract. So it was sevens and 15s. So when you weren't on the sevens tour, you'd go and train with Edinburgh and stuff like that.
What were your memories of training with us for the first time?
It's funny because. Like almost half my coaching staff now, I've all played with them, and it scares the life out of me. We've got Robbo, Stevie Laurie, and Mike Blair, and I played with all of them. And one of my first memories, I tell Stevie, I've got two. One of my first memory with Stevie is in a touch game. I handed him off, like 19 years old, came in, handed him off, and I thought like it wasn't like a proper touch, so I was fine. Ran through, scored the try. Stevie chased me back all the way and said, "Do that again, you little." And they'll knock you out. So and I'm 19 years old. I never did it again. I was too scared.
You should have.
and then I remember Mike. I don't tell him this now, but I told him it when he's in the Scotland program. I remember we were all. I think I was 24th man travelling to like Connacht or something, and we just had like a toughest training session. We were talking like training. And I was sort of on like a young boy on the outskirts overhearing a conversation, and Mike goes like, "Bloody hell, training's crap, isn't it? Like I love the games, but training is great." And I heard it. I was like. How does this guy not like training? When you're young, you're like, training with these kids is the best thing in the world. And as I've got a bit older,
you can appreciate that.
You can appreciate it a bit more.
Maybe certain bits of it weren't so good. Maybe that's what it was getting at. I remember you coming in. I remember a couple of things. I remember you coming in, and I remember Simon Webber, you know well. Yeah. I wasn't involved, but you must have played in a game at Sale. It was a warm-up game away at Sale. I think it was a backup game, what game early season. I think Webber must have played it. I don't know if it was maybe around the 2011 World Cup time.
Was it? You boys were away.
We were away, and I remember coming back, and Webber was a good mate of ours. Was like, oh, we went down this, struggle that we're up against. He says, but there was this kid that came on. He said he was stick thin, and I was a bit worried about him, but he just came on and started thumping people, and it was you. So it was this like kind of obviously filled out about since then, but it was I need to keep an eye on this lad. So we kind of knew, and it's a funny how that kind of senior player thing, and you'll maybe do it now as a senior player yourself. You kind of check out the youngsters coming up. So you had this instant kind of reputation as being a real tough egg, a real good one to watch. And I can vouch for that because I remember, I don't know if it was the only time we played together, but I remember being away in Ulster during the Six Nations of 2012, I think, and it was there wasn't a few, there was a few missing. Let's say that way. And Ulster were flying, Ruan Pina at the time, and Johan Muller, all the kind of the big physical Ulster guys. And I remember we were up against it, and maybe going into the second half, I think it was maybe Roddy Grant that went off, perhaps, and Roddy went off and his cap went off, and I thought, I was feeling sorry for myself. I thought, here we go. And then I looked at the touch and it was you and Robert McAlpine coming on. Now, Rob McAlpine was a big second row. He was slightly lighter weight at that point as well, and I thought, oh, poor souls, here they come. And within a moment, you'd come on, stripped the ball off somebody, bounced somebody else off, and took off up the field. I thought, how wrong could it have been? I felt a wee bit concerned for you, but. Brilliant, immediate impact. Can you remember those games?
I remember that moment so well because obviously as a young lad, like I've looked up to you like my whole career playing like U40, those sort of boys, and I remember you coming up to me after the game and we got hammered.
Yeah, we were up against
we lost by about 20 odd points, 25 points, but I remember you coming up to me afterwards and saying how well I did, and it made my absolute year. I was
getting you on side. I was needed some protection. I remember it ripped the ball. It could have been a Robbie Dyke or something like that because Ulster were strong at that point, and I did think, oh, we're up against it even further. But a big bibbing. Enough of so long ago. I could reminisce for ages. But I say it is something I think that all players do, but especially senior players do when younger players come in. There is an examination really that happens instantly, rightly or wrongly. I don't know. Would you be honest enough to say you would do that to young players coming in now? There's almost you don't need to pass a test, but it's a
no. It's not
a
test.
Let's see what these guys can.
100%. You go back to for young lads coming in. I think be confident, try and make an impression, not in like a bad way, but on the training field. Like I think I know us as like the Edinburgh first teamers now. We'll go back in the changing room. We'll have conversations at the start of a new season, being like, geez, that guy looked good, or like, how good did he look today? And he's only like 18, 19 years old. Because we had one as well. Me and Blair, we got the same agent, and I remember my agent rang me up, and I said, me and Blair met him or something, and we both said we gave him a name to watch, and he signed him up as well because he's it was Sabala. I think he'll be he'll be a great player. He's just so natural on the ball and brings the ball flat to line. We both sort of said to our agent. So I think we definitely have those conversations.
Yeah, no, I think it's a part of rugby. You also look out for when you want people who work hard and have a natural ability to be rewarded. So it's great to know that still continues. We'll skip forward 40 running caps. What would it mean if you? I've no doubt you'll reach 50 cap, but as a kid, I know it's an easy, cliched question, but one cap would have been a dream, an aim, a goal. But 50, what does that mean?
It's crazy. Like it really is. It's such a like surreal feeling, like to get 50 caps, and I think
it feel like 50 or 40?
It's weird. I don't know where the time's gone. Like it's crazy because I still obviously remember my first cap, and for those who don't know, it obviously didn't go too well.
Early 2015.
Yeah, and but to get 50 caps is honestly like it's probably the biggest honour in my career if I could get it, and hopefully that moment comes on tour, and I can't wait. Like you say, it's the old cliche. You never think you take it step by step in your career, don't you? And you never think you're gonna get capped at age grade, and I was lucky enough to, and then getting your first club cap and getting 50 caps for your club, and just to try and build like that, and to get 50 caps for Scotland would be an incredible feeling, and for my family as well. I think.
Do they come to the games? Your brother's a big supporter.
Oh, my family, I think they get gutted. They got gutted over COVID, and I think out of the 50 caps, I reckon Gus was going to try and work it out. He's my older brother, but I think out of the 50 caps, I reckon COVID they would have missed about 5, or maybe the Ortons about 8. So out of the 42 they could have come to, or 41 they could have come to, I think they've probably been to about 37.
All around the world.
There won't be many. There'll be a few on the summer tour, that Fiji tour they missed, but apart from that, they'll be right up there. Like,
special, and always, and you always want one more. That's the thing that I worried about when I came towards the end of my career. How am I ever going to walk away from this? Because if you're lucky enough to reach 50, you want 51, you want 52, and it keeps going up and up and up. So you always want more. Right?
But it also makes me realise, like, obviously I'm 30 now. I think that's the first time I ever told the truth about my age as well.
We can edit.
Yeah. But it makes you realise as well, though, because 50 caps, it takes a long time, especially if you have injuries.
Well, on average 10 a year.
Exactly.
And that's if you hit them all.
You dip in and out. And like you and Fordy and like Sean Lamont, those boys who have all hit 100 caps, it makes you realise when you hit 50 how amazing that is, because there's obviously a bit of luck involved with injuries, but apart from that, to stay that on form for that length of time, it's amazing.
It was easier back in the day. We've asked you, we mentioned one day, we're going to ask you to pick out some key Scotland games, not too many, maybe 2 or 3. One of you've picked it already, was your first cap. It was against Italy in the Six Nations 2015. Now you came on as a replacement, and then went off again. Was it the final play as a yellow card? It was a cumulative penalty card. It was a cumulative yellow card. It wasn't your fault, was it?
I'm sure Benny Toulis won't mind me saying this, but Benny
took one for the team.
No. Benny, me and Benny, as off both off foot. I'm 10.64. He's 10.65. We both got yellow carded in that game.
That's right.
Yeah. He was a bit earlier than me.
Before you though, wasn't he?
He was a bit earlier than me. I think I got 10 minutes longer than him. And then
and how's that? Well, how was that? Like, obviously the dream, and I mean it was a result. They lost at home against Italy, so poor result. But the dream of gaining that first cap, and then I suppose the disappointment of being yellow carded and losing the game. Can you fully allow yourself to have the pride that you would deserve?
I think if you only got one cap, I think it'd be really hard to I think you'd still be absolutely chuffed. But if I'd only got one cap and out of my one cap, and it was the first time I lost to Italy at home for a long time as well. I remember Grieg's face in the change room and stuff like that, and that kind of put a dampener on it. But like,
did he ever smile?
But for me, like, still being after the game, we still went back to the hotel. We still had a few drinks. My family were all allowed to come to the hotel. And it's still, even though we lost, it was still one of the best moments of my life, getting my first cap, because you never forget it. Like, I remember how I felt. I remember the feeling of on team run day looking at my name, like my name tag on there, and it was honestly still a great moment. And to be fair, it was this Six Nations that obviously Italy beat Wales.
That was the last.
And
game.
that was, thank gosh, that monkey's off my back. Because you know what, I got loads of tweets saying that when we played Italy, only me and Hoggy out the whole Italian starting 15, and our starting 15 had lost to Italy, and they had never beaten Scotland.
Is that right?
Because they got such a young team, Italy, obviously, and but full credit to them, they played amazing and beat Wales.
Well, I had a look at the team, and you're right. Hoggy, Mark Bennett, Johnny Gray all started. Obviously,
Johnny didn't play against
Italy. Mark Bennett didn't play against Italy. and the others still playing. Greg Laidlaw and Bob Harley was in the back row, and Fraser Brown's on the bench. So there's been quite a big turnover. Turn the players. Are there other games? There will be other games.
I remember John Beattie as well. I was in a room with him that week.
You came on for Beattie, did you?
Yeah, so came on for Beats, and Beats is obviously a great guy, and I've spoken to him since that day. But I remember him in the I think it was the week of the Test match. I think I was in a room with him. I remember a pillow getting slung at my face in the middle of the week because apparently I was snoring, and I don't even snore that bad. I don't think I must be on my back or snoring or something.
Get the excuse.
I just remember being so scared, like my first cap, and I got like a pillow chucked to my face. I think,
as long as there wasn't any hard in the pillowcase, you'd be all right. It could be worse.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I remember that. Like, you don't remember like
strange
first moments in your career and stuff.
Worrying about a pillow fight. Are there other games? Other couple off the top of your head, if I ask you, like, what highs or lows or games that jump out vividly in your imagination, would there be others?
Yeah, I think because our sort of generation of Scotland players at the moment have got some massive wins over the last few years. I think there's definitely a few that spring to mind. I think the 2018 win against England, I think that was the first time he'd beaten England in 10 years. So for all the players there, I don't think they had ever beaten England. Yeah. There was no one there who look at it, I think it was 2008 before we beat him before that.
We drew in 2010, but 2008 would be the last one. Yeah.
And then I think the couple of away wins that we had, beating England away at Twickenham for the first time in ages. And then
Australia away win in Sydney would be up there.
The Australia away win in Sydney was massive as well, because I don't think we had a tour win for a while, and that's like, it's like winning on tour is amazing, because it's just a different environment, isn't it? It's like you go there as massive underdogs and winning against us. I also scored a try, but it was from like a metre out. It
started
100
metres out.
They're not all great. They're not being great.
That was a great try.
It was an awesome try. But not great by me. But yeah, no, and then beating France away. Yeah. So probably those ones, but yeah, definitely that 2018 one. I think that was the first time I'd beaten England in my career as well, because at age grade they're always so good. Yeah. They've always got all their academy systems and stuff like that. And the previous year, obviously in 2017, we had a good Six Nations. We won 3, but we got smashed by them in 2017. So.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was the year. Yeah. I know, it's good to, and big wins, especially on tour, as you say, but big wins galvanise a lot, because I feel sometimes you're always doubted as a Scotland player, and you doubt yourselves at time, and those big wins really kind of cement the good that you're doing and underline the quality you do have.
And especially at Murrayfield at the moment, I feel like we do, like the fans are all so proud to be there, and we go there, and like most of the games we play at Murrayfield now, I think we do go in there. We're not. You do feel that we're not as underdogs, and
you do feel that responsibility, though, don't you?
Yeah, no, you do, 100%, and that was obviously the start of it. I guess we're getting that massive win at Murrayfield.
There's a few. Not to take it down on an interview, but one of the questions I think it's important to talk about and ask is lowest moments in your career. Is there something that would jump out as I'd imagine World Cup, Ireland injury would be up there, but would that be the one that would come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the 2 World Cup ones. Not getting picked in 2015 was quite tough. I think after my first cap, not because of the result, I don't think, but like just the way coaches go about, like change their player groups and stuff like that. After my first cap, I don't think I got capped again for quite a while until the World Cup pre-season, or after that cap I didn't play for a while. And I had to really fight to get back into Vern's good books, but so that was quite hard after you go from that massive high and then play for Edinburgh the whole of the next season afterwards. That was tough. Like you say, the 2019 World Cup, and you know what World Cup pre-seasons are like. You work so hard to be there, and you go through 2 months pre-season camp, and the camaraderie you have with the boys. We went into that World Cup with obviously quite high hopes, and we lost to Ireland and didn't do ourselves proud at all, and then obviously I got injured in the first half as well. And
Did you know at the time it was a bad one?
Yeah. I think you'll know as well. When you do something, you just know, like the way my knee went in and the way it felt straight away, I just knew. So that was obviously a really dark moment for me, but luckily it was just my medial ligament, and sort of came back from it quite like fairly quickly. So
Nah, you do know sometimes. I always found even it's similar if you make a really bad obvious mistake, and you think, oh no, I just want to tell everybody, show everybody that I can get better, get back, not make the same mistake again, or get rehabbed and back in the field as quickly as possible. It's it can be a lonely place, a rugby field. But on a higher note, the best moment in your career, to conflict that, the lowest moment, what would be the best moment? And interestingly, how you would celebrate it, or how did you celebrate it?
Best moment. I don't know, because we hadn't done it before in such a long time. Like, my first cap is 100% up there. It's one of the best days of my life. It's interesting because I wouldn't say beating England in 2018 was one of the best days of my life, but I would say my first cap was, because it's something I've worked for my whole life. But my best moment in rugby probably is beating England in a way. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I know, because the first
well, you've been a responsibility. You feel the responsibility of the team, of the nation when you play, and even though, because you're not a selfish person, very few people in rugby are selfish, but it would be a selfish. I think you would feel selfish if you thought that, that winning for you, or winning your first cap for you, would supersede the team winning.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So I can totally understand.
So I just think that my best moment probably would be that England win. Just the way we.
I'll ask how you celebrated it then.
Well, I think that's why it's up there as well, though. Just because everyone knows, it's one of those ones that we hadn't won it in so long, and we just the emotions got to everyone. I think.
Are you big for celebrating?
Yeah, I like to go out with the boys and celebrate, but it doesn't have to be out. You know what I mean? Like during COVID, we got some great wins, and just being with the team. It's like a team environment. Being with the team in the hotel room, they're some of the funniest moments we've had as well. Like when COVID was on, you couldn't do anything, so we come back to the team room and have a few drinks in the team room, and that they would be up there as well. They were just funny nights, even though you're not out.
I know sometimes it's quite hard to describe that, though, isn't it? Like things that aren't funny to the outside world would be absolutely hilarious at the moment. But that's what squads, that's what living in each other's pockets does. Away from rugby, I think it's important to talk about that. What do you enjoy? What do you like? What do you, obviously, family man, father, but gaming, football. You've got a few things, haven't you?
I think it's weird because your priorities, if like young people are listening and stuff, I think your priorities change throughout your career, don't they? I think when I was younger, what was important to me was going to Nando's and cinema after training and just just gaming and stuff like that. And
gaming.
I loved obviously my family coming up and watching me the whole time, but now it's sort of shifted, and my why, like the why I play rugby, the reason I play rugby, it's all changed. And I think now the reason I do it, the reason like I find the strength to do it is probably for your squad, but it's all through my family, my wife, my two girls. They don't know anything that's going on. They don't care. So on the flip side, like it's great if something doesn't go well because you go home to them and they don't care. Which probably got me through my worst moment when I came back from Ireland as well, because they don't realise you're injured and stuff. But like I think what was the question? I got sidetracked.
Just like away from rugby.
Away from rugby. So away from rugby. Sorry, away from rugby. The reason I do it is my family. And then outside of rugby, what I like to do to switch off from rugby is just spend time with them, spend time with my family down south. I'm going down south. My hobbies. Obviously, I do still game. I'm not gonna lie. I've been punted from every room in my house. I used to have an awesome gaming room. The first girl.
Is it getting smaller and smaller?
Was born, then I got chucked out of there. Put it in Willow's room. Willow was born, got chucked out of there, and now I'm got a little
gaming cupboard
in my room, which I have to pack away every night and stuff like that for a game. So
and is it still Call of Duty? I ask this question often because I'm no gamer, but that seems to be the favourite.
Still play Call of Duty. I'm FIFA. We played a lot of Call of Duty 2 years ago, I think, when it first dropped, like the new Battle Royale. The young people here,
language,
the young people will know what I'm talking about. I played a lot of Fortnite, but I don't game as much now. It's probably just it's like probably more family time. I still try and go to coffees with the boys and stuff like that, but not as much.
And football. And when you play FIFA, you'll be playing as Man United, I assume, will you?
I don't. You know what? My team on FIFA have always been Stoke, because normally, and not this season, but normally United are too good, so if you start a career with them, it's always a bit boring. So I normally go Stoke because they're like the next closest team to me, and it makes it a bit harder because they're in the champ now as well. So I normally start a career with them.
But Man United's your team.
Man United's my team. Me and my brothers are very fortunate that we've got season tickets there. I don't get down very often, so they always use them and I don't get to use them, but I'm sure after my rugby career I'll say they owe me a few. I can take a few people.
How long have you held the season ticket?
We've had it a while, because before that they were sort of my dad's name. My dad's had them since he was a young lad.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then they sort of got changed over to our name, and it's awesome going to Old Trafford. If no one's
Never been.
There's a lot of people who will disagree. They'll be Liverpool fans or whatever, and but going to Old Trafford's great, and it's always a special day out going with your family as well.
And when you go now, all right, when you get the opportunity to go now as a professional, as an international sports, is it a release, or do you watch it just for pure thrill and enjoyment, or do you feel as if they're doing what I do in a similar way? Do you watch the game differently, or is it just pure fanatic?
It is a massive release, and I also understand when it sometimes helps me understand how fans feel about rugby, because sometimes sometimes you get a lot of like social media people who will slag you off on stuff like that, but it does help me feel, because sometimes I just don't agree with the social media slagging, but sometimes don't get me wrong, I'll have a drink with my brother after the game and be like, God, that guy, I'm not going to name any names, but God, he was crap tonight. And I know as a fan, because I can respect that, because as a fan you get upset. But when I go there, I just obviously respect what they do, and for them they get 70,000 every week, and it's like playing a Scotland game every week, isn't it? It's amazing atmosphere there.
And you've got a favourite, I believe.
I do. Cristiano. Yeah. The day. That's the one game. It sounds so bad because I got a season ticket, but that's the one game I went back for, the Newcastle game when he came back. Yeah. That was such a cool moment, because I think because he's been playing for so long. So it sounds weird. I'm a 30-year-old, but I love Cristiano. He's amazing. But do you know that's weird.
How old is he? 37.
Yeah, we 37 or something. Yeah. So he was at United when he first joined in 2003. Yeah. So I was 13. So that's when you love sport and love football. And I used to see him quite a lot kicking around the village.
Have you met him?
Back home. I've met him a few times when I was younger. So I met him a few times, like the local tie and stuff like that, and I've got a picture with him that I posted on my Instagram a while ago and stuff like that. That was when I was a bit old. That was when I was 17. I got a picture with him. And then I was saying to you just earlier, like my brothers for my birthday, they obviously know that he's my favourite player, and I was lucky enough to for a friend get a signed Cristiano top, and saying to Hamish and stuff. And for a 30-year-old man, it was still a pretty cool moment.
Best present ever.
Best what?
Is it the best present ever?
Oh, sorry, Mum and Dad. Yeah, I think it is. My brother's got me the best, and my wife. But my brother's got me the best present ever.
It's good to have that passion. Could you play football? Did you ever play it? I don't know. I don't know why I look at you.
I think we all say yes, don't we? But no, I couldn't.
Did you play as a kid?
Yeah, I played as a kid growing up, and I love football. I think after rugby, it's probably one of those things I will, when you
fives.
I think I'll love to still play, or play on like a Sunday league team or something. My brother's playing on like a local Sunday league team and stuff like that. I would still like to run around and do something. And you're competitive, aren't you? So I know those guys, they play Sunday league. And after a game, they'll be telling me about how he missed a sitter or he scored 2 goals, and I'm like, for flip's sake, lads! I know it sounds really bad, but that's they're so competitive as well. That's their everything on the Sunday league. So I think I'll still like to play a bit of football, but I was never that great.
I've played like football growing up, but I never actually was assigned a position. I've never played a game where you've actually had to hold a position. It intrigues me because I would just run about like a.
Oh no! So I was striker at secondary school. Yeah, striker at secondary because I was quite quick. Because not many people play football in my school, so I'm not actually that quick. But I was quick for the football team. So the keeper used to just boot the ball over. I'd run onto it, and or I'd start on the right wing, and because I've got a left foot, I'd hit it on the left. But I've got the problem with me, I've got no right foot. It's embarrassing. I can't use my right foot, so I don't think I would have got very far.
I never know. Never. You could learn.
Yeah.
Well, I think we get to know you pretty well. We're looking ahead to almost tour, obviously, Argentina. One thing that I often wondered: do you still get assigned a roommate, or do you choose your own roommate nowadays in camps?
It sort of varies. So sometimes, obviously during COVID, we had no roommates. Then after COVID, we sometimes picked our roommates, and then the night before a game, you'd get your own room. But then I guess the problem
Who's your go-to if you pick then?
Probably at this point in time, it's probably Dewey. You know why it's called Dwayne?
No.
So on the Lions tour, Dewey for the first few weeks was running around, and Gaps was calling him Dwayne. And boys are like, did he just call him Dwayne? And then eventually one of the boys had to go up to him and be like, I think he overheard boys calling him Dewey, and he was like, his name's not Dwayne. But he played every test, so you know he must have known his name by the end of the tour.
That'll stick. He'll never get rid of that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, everyone calls him Dwayne now.
Dwayne. So you do?
So me and Dewey likes the game bit as well, so it kind of works because I sometimes feel a bit like if I'm with like a young lad and I just started gaming, put my headphones on, I'd kind of look a bit antisocial, but Dewey kind of gets it because he's got his headphones on and I've got my headphones on, and we basically don't talk to each other.
I remember back to Dan Parks used to be in the squad. Is it larger life? Did you ever play against? You would have played with Dan, no?
I played against him when he was at Connacht, I think, towards the end of his career, but I think I would have missed him when he was at Glasgow.
Parksy was larger than life, always in the goal, chirpy, larger than life, and one other guy, Simon Taylor, who was a bit more reserved. You wouldn't have played with Simon?
No, I know Simon a bit more, but
yeah, well, Simon's really reserved and would like to read, and I remember Dan was really nervous because he was rooming with Simon. He's like, I don't know what to do, And then Simon, of course, played in this and made it, Dan feel pretty miserable at himself as he was lying reading a novel in his bed, and Dan was like jumping up and down, fidgeting and chirping, and Simon put his boot down and says, "Just to let you know, Dan, I'm perfectly comfortable with silence." To which Parksy just to run out the room and find somebody to play table tennis with. So this relationships go on.
I can imagine him doing that as well. And I've actually met Parks, and I can imagine him doing that because he took us once, all the Edinburgh boys, on a night out in Connacht.
Did he? Some boy Parksy. Well, that was I think that it's a bit of stress as well, that roommate thing. So to choose your own.
It is I remember my very first roommate.
Who was the first one?
Was Sean Lamont. I'll never forget it. Because
What
you
did he
just
do?
remember your
Did
roommates.
he pick on you?
No, he didn't pick on me at all. He was a good roommate, but I just remember, like, at the time he was the most capped player in the whole squad, and I was like, no way, it's my first ever camping up with the most capped player. I was like, geez,
they do that deliberately.
I was like, gosh, it's gonna be stressful. But no, he was a good roommate, and funny.
There's one other half story. Mike, we've spoken about Mike. You've mentioned Mike earlier on. Mike Blair. He claims this isn't true, but I was actually there and I heard it. Scott Murray, who was one of the more senior players as well, liked a cup of tea, and when Mike was sharing with him early on in his career, he said, "Go make me a cup of tea, Mike." And Mike, he says this didn't happen, but it did. It was there. So Mike says, "Yeah, certainly, Scott will make a cup of tea." And he went to the bathroom, run the hot tap until it got really piping hot, and Mike, what are you doing? He said, "I'm making a cup of tea." He said, "No, the kettle's over there." So Mike Blair's first cup of tea was made with a hot tap in the bathroom rather than the kettle. So we're giving away a few stories.
Is that because he's never made a cup of tea?
Well, that's what we thought, yeah. Of course, he denies it. Ask him.
I'll ask him.
He had his finger under the tap.
First day back in pre-season, I'll ask him.
Is it checking? Is it hot enough? Do you think that's hot enough? Yeah. No, if you boil the kettle, Mike, you're probably going to poison the most capped player by using the water, the hot tap for the bathroom. But anyway, we digress. Listen, Nish, great to chat. Always good to chat. I've been on a podcast a few times. I know we've kind of looked back a lot and we've reminisced in some ways at a couple of old men, as I said at the start, but I think that's really important. But I think what's important to say, there's so much more to come from you. Love watching you play, love the energy you bring, love the intensity you bring, both for Edinburgh and Scotland. And I think as a film fan's favourite, I think they would agree that there's a lot more to come. So we hope we see it in Argentina, in Chile and Argentina, and over the next weeks and months as we go ahead.
Cheers, Mossy. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on.